why would I put fiber in that item that will make you full? I want you to come back. I want to strip off that food from all the...
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Overcorrection. We are back in studio with Ankush. Welcome back.
Thank you. Society, I think, is hyper fixated on quantity of the calories rather than the...
Calories are not the enemy. That's where I don't like salad culture in general. Salads are not healthy. You know who they're healthy for? People who need to graze all day like cows. It's the opposite of how we evolved. We have evolved to eat.
But someone will eat the salad and say, salad khaya, healthy. Ho gaya.
Our minds are so stuck in this fat loss culture that cryotherapy, one of the top 4 things they advertise about it is this, you will burn up calories.
I can run a 2-hour half marathon and I don't burn those many calories.
This is what high cholesterol can look like, guys.
My cholesterol was very high.
But bro, you had abs.
Yeah.
People say you can't outrun a bad diet. I have outrun a bad diet. I must have been burning close to 2,000 calories.
Try eating that healthy salad.
Yeah, salads would have killed me.
The restaurant industry devised this idea of giving you bread before your meal. Why?
No one gives anything away for free. That bread is not there for free unless they can...
I want you to come back.
It's the biochemistry of any addiction actually.
As addictive as all the other sins.
It's just that they can advertise it freely. Welcome everyone to another episode of The Overcorrection. We are back in studio with Ankush. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So we have a lot to get into today, but I thought we'd start with this holistic health and wellness clinic that Ankush and I went to over the weekend. We're going to put out some videos. We tried full body cryotherapy. Ankush tried a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Yes.
Quite an experience. What was your initial or afterthought takeaway from it?
I quite like the idea of the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Going in, I had an idea that it's going to make me feel a little more refreshed, make me feel better in the moment. It did, right? And it was a wonderful experience. But I don't know what I took away after that. I mean...
Probably be walking away with a 6,000 rupee bill or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's really, I think, where I want to get into. Who do you think the market is for these hyper-specialized treatments, full body cryotherapy, radiation chambers, IV therapy, collagen beds, advertised to you that's saying Cristiano Ronaldo uses the same technology, Novak Djokovic uses the same technology, and you, hungover after a night of partying on Saturday, need to use this technology?
So I remember when we went to the clinic, it was pretty interesting. Obviously, the collagen bed is something new that I didn't know of.
Yeah.
The red light therapy, I mean, is kind of a proven treatment across the world. So when we were actually getting the tour, more than me doing this, the thought that I had in my head was, what does someone who has that disposable income think about this service when they're actually been sold this service, right?
Yes.
So it's more of the psychology of, and then it was quite coincidental that after the tour, we had the same views. We never thought about how we would use it, how someone else would actually approach.
Yeah, because we've spoken about this before. So much of what 95% of the people need to do is simple. It's not found in expensive treatments. It's not found in doing more. It's rather also found in doing less, as we've spoken out before. The question is, I think, these treatments which should be for the top tier athletes are instead marketed to the top tier earners.
Yeah. And the athletes whose faces I saw, Ronaldo, Usain Bolt, there was Ranbir Kapoor in the middle of all of that. I didn't understand. Actually, I did understand why later. So Ronaldo and Bolt, they are someone who have 95% of their routine tuned in. Wake up, train, eat well, sleep, do this all day round. And they need that 5% additional help that they can get, right, for recovery, right? Because they're top athletes, and even that 1 or 2% additional benefit that they can derive. And if this is helping them, then why not? Because they have to just throw money at it. They've done all the hard work of the 95%, right?
And I think with a lot of optimization, this final 5%, it perhaps works in a way only best when the 95% base is created. I don't know how much, even if you would get 5% benefit if you're still at a 20% in your optimization with just basic things like diet, sleep, exercise. If you've not even covered the basics, I don't know how much you need a hyper specialized cryogenic recovery chamber.
I don't think you need it at all, right? And I would ask you a question. Let's say I have a shitload of disposable money, right? I'm somebody who goes out to party. I go to Bastion. I spend 10,000 a night, right?
Yeah.
Why don't I just go the next day and spend half an hour of my time improving my health when I have so much money, I have so much time, right? Makes sense for such kind of person. What do you think?
So I have 2 points for you on that. One, I 1000% agree that it is a good thing finally that we have some healthy ways to blow your money. Okay, because till now our culture, like whenever you have a lot of money, what you do with it, why it's always debauchery, it's always unhealthy food at expensive restaurants, it's alcohol, it's late night partying. And here we finally have that if you want to blow a lakh in a weekend, you can manage it at these clinics. So in a way, when it comes to how people spend their disposable income, I certainly don't think it's easy to defend buying a 2,500 rupee cocktail and not wanting to pay for a cryotherapy bath because you think that's a scam.
Absolutely. And I do not think it's a scam per se. If I had that kind of disposable money to spend every day, if I had a clinic right opposite my house, right, I would definitely consider it. I would consider it. There's nothing wrong in it, right? But for the 99.99% of the population, right, who may not have that kind of luxury, it makes sense to basically do your 95% of your nutrition, sleep, exercise, right?
I get what you're saying. If you have the disposable income, why not do it? So the only argument I would put there is I think it's possible that it is distracting them from what they actually need to do. So you have all this disposable income, you've gone out partying. Next day, maybe you're better off going for a walk than you are doing a cryo chamber.
That comes very naturally to us. What I've noticed is going for a walk, right? Maybe spending 20 minutes doing basic level exercise. That comes very naturally to us. So we can talk about this and it seems very obvious. But for most people, what I've noticed, so by most people, I mean people who absolutely do not move their asses. Even the simple piece of communication does not seem to work, right? So maybe these hacks work for them, but like you rightly said, right? It's not a long-term solution. It's just a short-term fix for
the day.
What they're not able to do.
The day today, like it will not...
For the day, yeah.
For the day.
Yeah.
And as we could kind of tell, we were at this place with all this hyper optimization and Ronaldo, etc., etc. And on the table, there were cookies.
And much more.
And much more. So I'm not going to say it was just cookies. There was like cheese and like walnuts and stuff like that. But there was still like these typical sugary, delicious cookies.
Isn't that the psychology? Get them sick and then get them to do the therapy. The classic. That's how it
can't
works.
Be so. I just thought that they would make some effort to create some type of, because these treatments are not balanced treatments. These treatments are like we said, extreme levels of perfection.
Yeah. And the cryotherapy session, which was, let's get into that.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
I had to actually wear these gloves. I had to wear like a hat. It was minus 80 degrees.
It was very cold, man. By the second minute in the minus 80 degree tank, I remember being like, dude, I don't know, am I going to be able to make this through? And if you hadn't done it, and I would have felt like such a
let's not get cancelled.
Which is, let's say, ego. Firstly, a really bad thing. If I felt like I was in some serious danger because of too much cold, and my only reason for staying in was that Ankush stayed in and I can't, wuss out or whatever, that's a really bad thing, and I may have been guilty of that. But it was very interesting because at about that 2.5 minute mark, the music cut out and a voice played that's saying, "You think you want to quit, but you're not going to." And the music kicks back in, and I was like, holy shit, they'd planned this moment. Like, they'd seen that exactly at this time, there's going to be some psychological pain that people are feeling in here, and it's totally fine, and we can push them through. So I thought that part was really cool.
And the more interesting part was the person who was actually taking the treatment, who was actually guiding us, and he was explaining it well to us. But both of us are fairly kind of well adapted to these concepts of calories and cold adaptation and everything. He told me that basically within these 4 minutes, you would burn 800 calories.
Hey, it's 600 to 800.
Yeah. I was like, okay, let me not be a wise ass and try to science my way out of it. Just quietly listen. So the concept was that within these 4 minutes, your body cools up to such a level, right? That after that, throughout the day, your body is heating up internally to balance out the temperature. And because of that heat, you're burning 800 calories. I didn't have a drop of sweat after that cryotherapy session. I don't know. I don't blame anyone or anything. But I was thinking about not just us. If someone else who was not well versed with this, they would easily buy the story.
And it is so counterintuitive, and it's so sad that this is how it has to be sold. Cryotherapy is not fat loss treatment, firstly. But our minds are so stuck in this fat loss culture that cryotherapy, one of the top 4 things they advertise about it is this. You will burn up to 600 to 800 calories, which firstly, you definitely don't burn 600 to 800 calories in those 4 minutes, okay? Anyone who put like that level of caloric output in that time would come out and like pass out or something, and it would be insane. So that is not what they're saying, but they're saying that throughout the day because of the extreme cold you felt. So now we don't even know how this is calculated. Like, is this 600 to 800 on top of your your base
BMI.
metabolic rate anyways? That's what the claim is clearly stating, that, if typically your base metabolic rate was 2000, you do a cryo thing in the morning and then go about your day exactly the same, you will burn 2600 to 2800 calories on that day.
Yeah. I think the claim was the cryotherapy session itself burns 600 to 800 calories, which is wrong, which is equivalent. I can run a 2-hour half marathon and I don't burn those many calories, right? So I think there's a...
But the way he explained it to you, it's still, okay, they're saying over the course of the day. This is kind of like that epoch or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that type of calorie burn later in the day.
Yeah.
I still find that dubious.
I do too. But don't you think that if they make these unverified claims, they'd be in some trouble?
Not until Food Pharma gets them. I think he's the only guy who can make some change. So jumping from the 600 to 800 calories burnt, a hyper focus on calorie culture, even when it comes to recovery-based things like cryotherapy, let's get into this calorie discussion. Why are calories so important? Is there an equivalence between different kinds of calories? Should, instead of those sugar chips, sugar biscuits that they had there, should they have had banana slices or pieces of apple? What do you think?
So a calorie is a calorie, right? Your body is not going to distinguish whether the calorie is coming from a banana chip or a banana or a plate of poha. It's not going to make a difference at all. A calorie is a calorie, and your body is going to treat the calorie as energy, right? But the quality of the calorie obviously matters, right? A banana, so if I compare these 3 items which I just spoke about, a banana has fiber, right? A banana has nutrients also that comes with it. Let's say a banana is higher in calories than a cookie, for example. Banana is higher in calories. Problem is, okay, let's eat the cookie. Okay, but you're missing the point that the banana has fiber that's going to keep you fuller for longer and probably reduce your calorie intake for the next 1 to 2 hours. While a cookie is not actually going to do that, and it's actually going to be counterproductive for why you actually ate it, right?
Okay.
And so that's something that society, I think, is hyper fixated on the quantity of the calories rather than the quality of the calories. But at the end of the day, the human body does not care about your views, beliefs, right? If you need 1800 calories to maintain your weight, however you're getting it, and you're giving that your body the 1800 calories, it'll maintain the weight, right? The idea is that you want to give it higher quality calories so that your body is well nourished. You don't just want to adhere to calories in, calories out, and get hyper fixated on that weight loss equation.
So, like we've said, weight is not equivalent to health.
Yeah.
And there are correlations, but there is certainly no causal connection between you being thin, you not being heavy, and you being healthy. A lot of these calorie discussions are discussed in the concept of weight loss, right?
Yes.
From cryotherapy to low calorie chips to diet coke. It's important to understand that just because we can say demonize calorie culture, if you don't understand the basics of that science, that no matter how healthy you eat, you will not lose weight unless you're in a calorie deficit, you will just not lose weight. But if your goal is not losing weight, but your goal is general health, then certainly the quality of the calories you eat matter.
Exactly. Yeah. That's well put. And let's talk about a couple of different kinds of diets also. Low carb, whatever, keto as a diet, paleo as a diet, veganism as a diet. So the low carb army, generally they're on high protein diets, right?
Yes.
So they say calories don't actually matter. Most of the
Yeah, I mean, the
high
biggest
protein-
thing with the high protein guys is that, do you know the thermogenic effect
the
of,
TEF, yeah.
the calories you're eating? And it's like, this is, again, even there, it's just this hyper fixation on calories. I was like, bro, calories are not the enemy.
Exactly.
Calories are what allow you to do things in your life. And that's where I don't like salad culture in general. Okay, this thing that salads are healthy. Salads are not healthy just like of their own. You know who they're healthy for? People who need to graze all day like cows and literally need to have a big giant bowl of something just to feel like satiated that I've had a huge giant bowl of something and I'm full now, but it had such few calories. It's the opposite of how we evolved. We have evolved to eat high calorie dense foods. Those are the ones which are nutrient rich, high in fat. Instead, we're eating pieces of lettuce that have no nutritional value and just work to satiate you. So again, we've conflated low calorie density, an evolutionary oxymoron, quite frankly, with health.
And here the problem is regarding salads. You take any salad, you just open your food delivery app, and firstly, food delivery apps, when you're grazing down the menu, thumb rule, never believe the calorie count in a
Food
item on a food delivery app, right? Because they miscount the calories for the sauces. Sauces are hidden calories, additional cheese calories. Like for example, I've seen certain salads which claim to be 300 to 400 calories per serving. My God, it's at least 800 to 900 calories, which covers 2 meals. But someone will eat the salad and say, salad khaya, healthy, ho gaya, right? So I think your calories matter, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely in the camp of, I know you're in the camp of calories matter, right? But like you said, here,
nor are you getting the calories, nor are you getting the nutrition. The calories you're getting are from sauces, and instead you could have had like a big bowl of, I don't know, some rice and chicken or something, something more balanced.
Yeah.
So we've gotten into this whole calories thing. Let's talk about protein. Okay, I think protein is something we've discussed a lot on this podcast before. When Liver Doc's study came out on protein, how much protein do we need? Indian diets are extremely low in protein. Is there a toxic protein culture, where we're just obsessed with protein? And you had sent me this article about how much protein we actually need.
Yeah.
Say you needed 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight. That's a little below what people recommend, but say it was just that much. You weigh 80 kgs, you eat 80 grams of protein. How many calories is that? 320?
Yeah.
320 calories. You have about 15 to 1600 calories to play with the rest of your food. It is not that hard to get 80 grams of protein and maintain a 2000 calorie diet. People think like, oh, 80 grams of protein, how will I eat anything else? It's 320 calories out of 2000. You have a lot to play with. Not if you have 400 to 500 calories of sauces in there. Then it might be a little hard. But I think people, when they start hearing this calculation of these many grams per kg, and they're like, oh, this is all bodybuilder nonsense. How can I do it? How can I track it? So what is your approach? How do you get your daily protein intake in a sustainable way?
Yeah, so coming to the first point that you mentioned regarding the study that I had sent you, very interesting study. So the typical textbook definition of efficient functioning for a normal human being was 0.8 grams per kg of protein. That's typically what we've been told. So proteins, essentially, they provide you the necessary amino acids that your body requires for normal functioning. I'm not saying to build
so
super
if I
muscles.
could just put it in terms, maybe some people can understand if they're not so versed with it. 0.8 grams per kg of protein. If you weigh
100 kgs,
100
to keep it
kgs
simple.
to keep it simple, you need 80 grams of protein, which in our context we want to understand would be like eating, I would say, about 10 to 11 eggs per day.
Yeah. And something more.
I'm just giving you an understanding of the, like if I
Yes.
could just give you this much protein. Now you don't have to eat 10 to 11 eggs, but you can eat like 4 eggs and some chicken and some peas and usal and stuff. But like that's how much protein 80 grams of protein is.
Yeah. So the older textbook definition, so the 0.8 grams per kg, it was based on how much the body needs based on the amino acids lost by the body. How much of the amino acids do you need replenished via this protein, right? But it was based on older scientific technologies that didn't account for more of the amino acids lost.
Okay.
So there were some interesting studies by Dr. Stuart Phillips saying that estimation was wrong at the time because the technologies were not well equipped to capture all of the amino acids that the body typically has lost. So here now what he says is that you need 1.2 grams per kg of body weight for efficient human functioning. So for example, a 100 kg human will require 120 kgs of protein.
So it's a 50% increase from what it was before.
Yeah. And for somebody who's doing resistance training, and if they want to, resistance training is lifting weights and going to the gym and doing body weight exercises, etc. They may need 1.5 grams per kg of body weight, right? And here's the thing, even if you aim for 1.2, right? And even if you miss by 20-30%, you're still making up for that 1.9, right? So what's the harm in aiming for higher? Shoot for the moon and you miss, you land in the stars. That kind of analogy. And I've personally been on a high protein diet for the last 7-8 years, and I've seen how it's benefited me. Protein is also very simple. It's a very simple macronutrient. It keeps me full through the day, right? I'm somebody who needs it more because I work out 5-6 times a week, right? But for someone who doesn't work out that much, right, maybe 1.2 works, right? But it's so good because there is so little downside, in my opinion, before people start to attack me and they give me various theories on how it's bad.
So where it's bad is, I think that people forget about other food groups. Okay,
Yeah.
That's where I feel it's bad. Otherwise, I don't see a single downside to it. But I see people forgetting about healthy fats, being so obsessed with protein because of its thermogenic effect and how high in calories a gram of fat is, that they don't eat things. Fat holds all the nutrients that your body needs. And that has other effects on your body that aren't related to muscle loss first, but eventually will hold you back in your muscle gain process. So that is the only real downside I see.
And I've been through the cycles. I remember I was a bro, an absolute bro, 2015, 2016. Protein is all that mattered, 8 eggs for breakfast.
Kicking out the yellows, which are actually super healthy
Kicking
for
out
you.
the yellows, only protein shakes because my trainer has told me that protein shakes has these XYZ qualities like the elixir of life.
BCAAs.
BCAAs. Don't even, that's a different tangent, or we can make an entire episode on that, right? And I would get a bloated belly, indigestion, and over time, I think with trial and error, you understand these things. It doesn't come in one shot. No one is perfect over time, right? There was this interesting thing which we were talking about also before the podcast regarding ordering of your
Yes.
food.
So when he said, let's talk about ordering of food, I was like, you want to order food right now? He's like, no, bro. The order in which you eat your food can make a huge difference to everything. And you've implemented this at home with your family and I think seen some pretty cool changes. So you want to just give a background on that?
Yeah. So the first time I came across this cool concept was from this book called Glucose Revolution by Dr. Jessie. So she's the glucose goddess on Instagram. Pretty cool Instagram page. I think everyone should follow her. I came across her explanation of why food ordering matters, right? So what she basically came to the conclusion, right, through her findings and through research mixed with her personal implementation as well as with research, is that you start with fiber, which is vegetables, ideally, fiber and protein first, followed by carbs, right? Now this is going to make a huge difference in how that's going to work.
Okay.
So if you eat the veggies first, typically what veggies do as fiber, they create this gooey mesh on your intestine, right? So the foods that come after it get digested much slower. It takes more time for the food to digest. And so if you, again, protein,
It like makes a capsule.
it makes a capsule, it contracts it. Protein, again, slow digestion, right? So by the time you're done with with the fiber and the protein, you can't overeat carbs, right? And once you're full, right? And the idea is that if you start with carbohydrates, right, you don't have that gooey mesh before. Food is just going down very easily, right? So there is this cool theory, I don't know, conspiracy theory or whatever you can call it. You'll come across it on Instagram Reels and across various articles that the restaurant industry devised this idea of giving you bread before your meal. Why? So that bread, so what happens with bread, essentially, adjoining to what the glucose goddess was explaining, right? If you start your meal with fast absorbing carbohydrates like bread, pasta, whatever, right? The food gets absorbed fast, right? Your blood glucose levels, your blood sugar levels, they spike up and they immediately crash. Now, once they crash, your body requires nourishment again. So you start to feel hungrier. So that is essentially the conspiracy theory. Subconsciously or consciously, whoever's doing it.
It cannot be subconsciously or unconsciously because no one gives anything away for free. That bread is not there for free unless they can make more money off it. These are places that can charge you 600 rupees for that bread and will if you order another one after your meal.
It's good business.
Yeah.
If someone knows it and they're doing it, I would say it's fantastic business.
Yeah, I do it myself before I dig into a burger. I'll have some chips and stuff. I don't know why, but that's what it is. It creates like an intense craving that then I get to satisfy.
Yeah.
You know, so people, I think we also do it subconsciously. Like, why are starters deep fried? Starters are never things that require slow absorption.
Exactly. Now, and coming back to what you said in the start, the food ordering and how it actually helped my parents. So we can maybe put up photos. I made like a transformation presentation of my mother, how she changed her meal ordering, right? And how she actually dropped 4 kilos within 2 months, very sustainably. She does not know a damn thing about calories.
She was full after every meal.
She was full.
She was not starving herself in
Yes.
any way or making any conscious effort to lose weight by reducing what she was eating.
Exactly. So, and the pictures will be available for
We'll put them
viewers
up,
who are,
yeah.
What she did was she just changed the ordering of her food.
Okay.
She changed the ordering of her food. If you remember the concept that I just explained 2 minutes ago, right? She just added more vegetables before. So automatically she was quite full. She couldn't eat that extra chapati, right? Slowly she started implementing this, right? And she started seeing that she's getting more full, right? She's feeling less tired because her sugar is not spiking and dropping immediately. There's nothing wrong with sugar spikes, but it's just about how acute the sugar spike is, how many times in the day you have it, right? More sugar spikes cause you to be more sluggish. So we'll come to the next part also, which is something that we are very excited to talk about. That's what my mother did. My dad also, somebody who has, I would say he does not have the best eating habits. We've spoken about his fitness, etc. But food is something he struggles with, right? Coming to protein also earlier, he started to see the results of his exercise, right? So that's how he automatically got to having more protein. And he also has creatine now. Cancel me, whoever. There's enough research on creatine, right? And he's done his homework, exactly.
And he's 3 years into lifting.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You should take creatine if he's keeping up with it,
Exactly. So I think results also motivate you to eat better, right? So you have to just give it some time. Give it some time. Once you start seeing the results, it's going to be difficult for somebody who starts changing their initial eating habits, right? Because they're so addicted to the dopamine high of.
I think this is where healthy eating and exercise go hand in hand, because they help you psychologically reinforce the will to do the other. It's not just the fact that, of course, they go hand in hand scientifically, though, for sure. You lift more, you're going to want more protein to build muscle and stuff. But, you're lifting, you're psychologically more in tune to, hey, is there something I can do outside the gym that will actually help this thing that I'm putting so much effort into? And the answer is a resounding yes.
Exactly. So, apart from lifting, so coming to food ordering, so I've documented so much about the continuous glucose monitor, how it's helped me, right? But again, coming back again to the first part of the conversation, till you have your 95% tuned in, right? Don't go for a CGM for viewers who are watching this. And this is
Ankush loves his CGM, and that's why I really like speaking to people who are actually in tune. And you find a lot of people who use CGMs or use high-tech equipment, and they feel like because they use it, they have to make it seem like it's the haven of everything, the panacea of unlocking all your health and fitness. I really appreciate his point of view as someone who I consider as an elite athlete. At least an elite non-professional athlete, I'll put it that way.
That's better.
Someone I consider an elite non-professional athlete who, just because he likes doing all this fancy stuff, CGM monitoring and sorry, I call it fancy stuff because in fitness I think it's like this stuff, but he recognizes where the work needs to be done for most of the people, and he does all that work himself.
So coming back to the CGM, so the continuous glucose monitor for people who are not in the know, it basically tracks your blood glucose. So it tells you which foods are acutely spiking it or which foods are actually tapering your blood sugar, right? So the idea, what I learned from various times that I used it, and I've not used it now for the last 1.5 years because I've learned everything there is to learn now about it. I don't think I'll need to use it anymore to learn anything new. Is that what I observed on a normal day as a corporate office employee? I think a lot of people here would be having desk jobs just like me. What are we doing? We're waking up, maybe working out in the morning, eating a breakfast, going to our desk, and we're just in a sedentary job. So what my glucose monitor used to tell me was that if I have a very high carb meal in the morning, right? Poha and sabudana khichdi, which I talk about so vehemently, and people have taken it.
Sabudana, you're attacking the part of Maharashtrian soul.
Yeah, I'm a Maharashtrian. I face flack at home.
Yeah,
I have to face flack at home. But the idea is that when I eat it on an empty stomach without the ordering of my food, I've seen a very acute blood sugar spike, right? And I'm not talking about what it leads to in terms of disease, in terms of long term. What does it lead to that moment?
How do you feel right after?
That moment, I feel sluggish. Now, when I move the sabudana to the evening, right? When I've actually had a day when my blood sugar is tapered, right? I don't feel any kind of slump. 2 years ago, post lunch used to be the most dreadful time, which is 100% of all office employees eat lunch and they feel it's inevitable. You go to sit
Oh yeah.
and it's just like, it's not, you've not regulated your food well, probably, right? If you plan your food better, right? You plan those blood sugar spikes, you probably will not feel as sluggish, right? As you are feeling right now. So there's no magic to it. Use the data, figure out where it's working for you, right? And don't promise heaven like you just said. There's no magic potion. Yeah.
And so I have done this before where I noticed the same thing and I was like, throughout the day is when I need to be alert and active. I'm working. So why would I spike my blood sugar in a way that it can crash? I'm just going to stay at my baseline. And at night, I can spike it because the second it crashes, I'll just go to sleep. And it felt like this amazing hack I discovered that, you can just eat proteins and fats through the day and literally have a bowl of sabudana khichdi at night and, you'll thoroughly enjoy eating it. After dinner, you'll be like, this is that afternoon nap I used to want to take at work. But it's like 11 p.m. and you can just pass out.
Yeah.
Terribly unhealthy.
And also to be noted, you should definitely avoid acute blood sugar spikes.
In general.
Regular blood sugar spikes are normal. Like your body naturally produces insulin, right, to bring down these glucose spikes, right? But if you keep doing it every day, right, eventually it's going to compound, right? Yeah. If insulin is working so hard every day, eventually it's going to reach a level, right, where you are insulin resistant. And if you're insulin resistant, insulin cannot work hard enough to temper your blood sugar, which leads to diabetes. That's a long term.
That's the long term effects of it. But back to the short term, just because you fall asleep nicely after eating a nice big, carby, oily, starchy meal, and does not mean that's good sleep. Okay, you can't strategically use this insulin sugar crash to pass out and say that, I was like alert throughout the day and I will abuse my body at night because I'm sleeping it off. It's like sleeping off a hangover from food.
And actually, I saw this data. So now coming from the CGM is the next wearable which I've kind of nerded out on. The ring, the sleep ring, right? It all ties in. Everything ties in. So with my ring, I figured out my sleep trends, right?
So you can actually see what glucose and how it affects your sleep.
Exactly. So there was scientific research and data. Of course, I'll read that, right? But I will judge it based on how I feel and how it's going to actually impact my sleep.
And you personally, because at the end of the day, data is like they say, these studies are population driven. They don't actually address one person's.
Exactly.
They average out the responses you get from the population and it's a good estimate of what the average person might respond to. But if you can figure it out for yourself, that is always going to be a more specific, correct answer. If you do it properly, then what a population-based study will give you.
Exactly. So Dr. Lane Norton, who we're both big fans of, right? He is someone who's very data-driven by scientific research, and I love that, right? But ironically, he says that don't take a scientific paper at face value. Science is the final barometer, but humans are fallible beings, right? So take a research paper as direction, but don't take it as the gospel truth, right? So because I had written this article titled Poha Analysis. Why did I title it Poha Analysis? Is that Poha, the textbook definition, Poha is a food, flattened rice that is high in vitamin B, high in iron, etc. You eat that, but I've seen the data, I've seen how it works for me. For me, it's an occasional indulgence. Then I can open up 2 studies, the carnivore diet, 2 studies to show you how the carnivore diet is good, 2 studies to show you how the vegan diet is good, 2 studies to show you how the vegetarian diet is good, right? So there are multiple studies supporting every diet, and then I can show you 2 studies showing the downside of each diet. Who do I believe?
And
what do I do?
There's such a good chance people will try a diet for 2 weeks. It doesn't work. And you switch in 2 weeks to another diet. So imagine you're on a high fat diet for 2 weeks, high protein, high fat diet, and keto is not working, it's not for me. Now you switch to a high carb, fruits only diet, vegetarian, vegan. what do you think that's doing to your body? You're giving like no clear signals of what you're doing. You're going to not get the best of both. You're going to get the worst of both. You're going to end up with a lot of fat accumulation because you didn't actually reach a state of ketosis from your keto diet. And now when you're not in a state of ketosis, you're pounding yourself with sugar and like, I don't even know. It doesn't make any sense.
Also coming to, there are two ways you can figure out whether you're on the right path. One is, I want to be feeling good now. I eat food to feel nice, right? I don't, you know how easy it is to achieve aesthetic goals. Just eat a high protein diet, eat a low calorie diet. You can look a certain way. It's not defining your health.
Easy.
Second is, something that people don't do is taking a blood test, right? Which people must do maybe once a year, once in 6 months.
Even people our age, huh? This is not old people.
Even people our age, it gives you direction. So around 3 years ago, I wrote this piece on cholesterol. So I was close to about 11% body fat at the time. I was shredded, like absolutely shredded. And I thought that I'm at the peak of my health, right? At the time. Went to do my test. My cholesterol was very high. My LDL was close to about 170, 180. And there's again.
But bro, you had abs.
Yeah. We can show pictures of that.
Yeah.
We can show pictures of that. And coming.
This is what high cholesterol can look like, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So high cholesterol, I was at 170. Why? I was on a high protein, low carb diet at the time, looking very good.
Good chance low fat also, in a way, low good fats.
Yeah, low good fats.
Yeah.
Just high protein, low carb, and whatever, to fill that equation, put in whatever fats are required. Cholesterol was high. Started to moderate my diet, right? I'm not saying increasing carbohydrates was the reason that my LDL came down. I made a balanced diet, right? I increased my my fat intake, right? As you said, good fats. Increase my carbohydrate intake a bit, right? Reduce my protein intake a bit. I thought, let's try it out, a moderated, balanced approach. I was at 15-16% body fat. We can put up that picture also. The difference between those two. See these two pictures, right? Where do you think I'm the healthiest at? Not the most ripped or the most shredded. At right, my LDL had come down to 100. My triglycerides, whatever. Not to make it too complicated, my cholesterol had come down, right? So again, it gave me now.
Did you feel better also?
Much better.
There we go. I think like it doesn't matter what you guys think about the picture or really, I mean, the numbers, of course, do show that significant improvement, but the fact that you felt better.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Being shredded, there's nothing wrong. How you get to that path is very important.
I believe you can get back to that 11% more sustainably, smarter, and have a perfectly good cholesterol reading.
Exactly.
You know, like, because I have also been, you know, close to that 10% range, and, you know, I've done like crazy levels of, like, I've outrun a bad diet. You know, people say you can't outrun a bad diet. I have outrun a bad diet. But I'll tell you what you have to do to outrun a bad diet. During lockdown, I would cycle 15 kilometers one way in Goa, surf 2 hours, and cycle back 15 kilometers before 11 a.m. I would be back home and start a work day. I must have been burning close to 2,000 calories extra, I think, a day.
Try eating that healthy salad.
Yeah, like I would have, like, salads would have killed me. Like, I had to eat only, like, I survived because of how calorie dense khatta meetha is. Like, I would have 500 grams of khatta meetha and beer and, you know, fried calamari with every meal. And I needed those carbs. Like, a salad would have destroyed me at that point because it would have been filling my stomach up with useless shit it can't convert into energy.
Interesting that you brought this up. In the book also, I'm written about this chapter called Ancient Wisdom, right? What we learn from our ancestors, right? I think we hyperfixate on what our grandparents used to eat. It's important because they used to eat whole foods. There was no processed food available. There was no food delivery app available. They had to walk everywhere to pick up their meals.
Yeah.
They had to walk from their office, get off a bus stand, walk up the stairs, right? So because of the amount of activity they did, they could have those diets. And if you look at pictures of your grandparents, they look super lean.
They're all super lean. My grandmother, she, you know, we have like family birthdays and it's someone's birthday and there's always someone there saying, no, I'm not going to have cake. I'm on a diet. And my grandmother just looks like, "Kai hai sagla diet." This is what she said.
Exactly.
And she was like, and she says, and we ask her like, Ajay, you never watched what you eat? And she was like, it's not that. We got cake once a year. Maybe, because we were privileged. Like, this is how life was then. My grandmother was privileged enough that once a year, maybe there was cake. So this thought that I have to say no to cake does not exist. Like, when yummy food comes, when prasad comes, you eat it because it's not going to just keep popping up anyway. You don't have to worry about it.
But here's where the problem comes. That from my granddad's time, right, to my time, my life has become relatively easier in terms of movement, availability. It's actually become a bad thing.
It's from both sides you're getting destroyed. My grandmother was walking around much more and eating cake once a year.
Exactly. If I want cake right now, I'm just going to take my phone. It's going to come here in the next 5 minutes.
You don't even have to walk to it.
Exactly.
Like, you don't even have to walk to the cake anymore.
And people, and coming to another important point after mentioning this, the actual burning of calories is the most part of it, right? It's called NEAT, non-exercise active thermogenic activity.
And that's where most of your BMR comes from.
Most of your work is done outside the movement calories that you have. How much do you walk around? It doesn't matter if I work out hard for 1 hour, come back and sit on the desk for 13 hours. That doesn't make me an active person. I have to be walking around. I have to be moving my body.
How much does an average you weight train? Say if you do cardio, say you do cardio for 1 hour, man, you're not burning more than 600, 700 calories. And that's a good cardio athlete who will burn 600, 700 calories in that hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're like average guy going to the gym, firstly, if you're doing weights, you're burning less than 150, 200 calories. You're just not doing anything to burn more than those many calories. If you're doing mixture of cardio, maybe an average person burns 350 calories in the gym. Your BMR is close to 2000. Do you know how much work is to be done outside that?
The simple, boring bro science advice, and I love the boring advice because I know that's all that works, right? 10,000 steps, high protein diet, strength training, drinking water. People have heard this a million times, right? But no one does it. It's really that's the magic potion, I can say. That's literally the magic potion to at least a more lean aesthetic body, right?
And when I talk about doing those crazy amounts of cardio, by the way, that was not sustainable. That was me exploiting lockdown because I had the freedom to work from home. And, it was not long-term sustainable. I was very calculatedly making that choice. But my point is like, you can do it.
Exactly. That's what I said. So what's passed on from my granddad to my dad to me, right? Unfortunately, the environment has changed, right? Too easy access. We are the human mind is still tuned to their ancestral, habits of being in a calorie-starved environment.
It's
right?
unevolutionary to see a high-calorie dense food.
Hunter-gatherers used to walk 5-10 kilometers at least to get that ridiculous amount of food, right? They used to eat that and they used to conserve it as energy. We don't move a millimeter and eat that same amount of food.
Everything is inverted.
Yeah, and then we're worried about
and
stats.
so I don't think this is where we don't need to just look how our ancestors did. Hey guys, we live in a completely different world. You are going to have to watch your diet. In fact, when there are cookies all around you, like I've been on like film sets and stuff like that, and they just bring out the most unhealthy food. I was like, man, you could do a lot by just first bringing out that plate of apples and bananas and then bring out the vada pavs. Because they bring out the vada pavs first and then the apples and the bananas come. And no one touches those apples and bananas. Because bro, once you started munching on a vada pav, what you'll have a banana, bro? Are you mad?
Exactly.
Yuck.
Even with processed food, think about it on a business angle. If I was a processed food manufacturer, why would I put fiber in that item that will make you full? I want you to come back. I want to strip off that food from all the fiber it has so that you keep eating more and more and more. And you keep... And one more important point, processed food, it's called cheap dopamine. I did a reel on cheap dopamine. Basically what cheap dopamine, just like drinking, smoking, scrolling on social media, eating this processed food, what happens is that cheap dopamine is easily released, right? And it needs to be replenished again at a higher level. So that's actually what leads to your addiction.
Yeah, it's basic. It's the biochemistry of any addiction, actually.
Junk food is as addictive as all the other sins, and it follows that same biochemistry of
Yeah.
dopamine. Right?
It's just that they can advertise it freely.
I'm sure there are departments in companies working on this dopamine aspect. There can't not be. Like, it's a clear sign to exploit someone for business, right?
Just like
So
there's a
clear.
team at Netflix trying to make sure that you can't look away from the screen for even a second before the next show starts, there is definitely a food industry. In fact, I think we should wrap it up here for the day, but next time I think we will get into some of the studies around the food industry. We'll save that for next time. I'm just trying to remember a quote, which if I don't, we will maybe hash out and see if you can help me finish this. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a really good one.
Yeah.
Each meal that you have is a short-term investment into dash, a medium-term investment into dash, and a long-term investment into dash.
Each meal that you have.
Is a short-term investment into what? Like, think about, like, when will the returns of this meal show? What will it give you in a short term? If I eat a healthy meal right now, you guys can try to figure this out too. Because
Yeah.
it's a very good quote. And I think we'll end on this game.
Yeah. It's a fab game and I'm
Yeah,
super
I mean,
confused.
So this is the quote, right? So I'll give you. So each meal you have is a short-term investment into how you feel.
How you feel, yeah. I was
Thinking along
thinking
those lines.
along the same lines,
So now extending that is a medium-term investment into
but how you look,
how you look, and is a long-term investment into
how you live.
how you live.
Oh, fab. Can't believe I got the fill in the blanks, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll put up the quote, what the actual answer is, because even I don't know, but it essentially says this.
Yeah.
And I think that was it's a very interesting way to look at it because it gives you 3 levels on which you get to make decisions. So now when you look at a plate of food, you can be like, man, I'm going to feel differently in 2 hours based on what I eat.
The long term is just a consolidation of many short terms done for a long periods of time.
Which is probably true in investing also.
Give me that guilt. Thanks for the cue, right? The book is coming in October.
Yes,
the
we were
design
gonna get to
cover
that.
has been fab. So next
we're gonna
time
put it
maybe-
out. It's gonna be on the bookshelf here, and I'm very
Fab.
excited for that book, man. My people in my family still they love the half kg plate. Like my dad's like, we're gonna get this in the gym, and I think that's a fabulous concept. And until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for more episodes.